Good morning, everybody. Hi, back. I'm back again. It's the 9th of December, 2022, and hadn't made any kind of videos for over a week, so, it's about time. I wanted to be doing these videos like once a week, but, I guess I'm not quite so dedicated to that, I guess. But, yeah, my Russian classes, they get kind of hard. There's certain sort of things that young guys like me, 23, I identify with a 23-year-old, so maybe can't pick up quite a little bit fast enough. I'm better at a lot of other things than some of these young Chinese people. Pronunciation, of course, even though it's also a foreign language for me. But, you see there's some limitations in the Chinese language, having to pronounce things in other languages. So, but nothing against the Chinese, because I'm sure if you send me over to China, I'll probably have a lot more problems than what they have over here. No, but they're hardworking people, so that's very good. So, nothing against Chinese, of course. But anyway, one thing I also want to mention is we had some of them. I don't know if they have coronavirus. Like we have, I think 22 people supposedly in the class, and there's only 11 at the moment. And the other ones, apparently they got some maybe cough. Some of them don't have coughs, I'm hearing, and but some have temperatures. I'm not quite sure, because there's always people playing hooky, so I'm not too sure about all of this. One person was gone because a lot of these are business people, and he's was away to do some sort of business, so at least for a day or so. I can't see how they can afford to miss a class, because there's so much information put out in that like 4 hours that we have class. So I don't want to miss it. I'll probably be lost then. But in any case, the teacher kind of was a little bit upset about that, and she was running out of the classroom and all, and then she came back and said something about we have to wear masks. And I was sitting there thinking, well, man, this is Belarus. And there's like technically a law here that you can't force people to wear masks. And I'm thinking, what is this, Because you saw during the time of coronavirus even, there was no lockdowns, the entire time. And people were made to wear masks for a short period of time. And even while the time I was over here, they passed a law that said you're not allowed to force people to wear masks. So, to be honest with you, the leader of Belarus here is more for freedom than present-day government in the United States. That's just a fact. I mean, it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like when these people were leaving Russia because of the draft, and Russia were trying to consider, like, what should they do? Should they stop the people at the border, as Poland has been planning to do? Because now I should mention that they are also having people register for a draft, because they're losing so many people in Ukraine, wearing Ukrainian uniforms. And it's well known that there are thousands of Polish soldiers being killed in Ukraine, at least by people that are have their mindset based in reality. So, but anyway, some of these people that were afraid, but there wasn't even a lot of them. It was a very small percentage, because most Russians are very patriotic. So anyway, they were wondering if they should hold these people off, and Lukashenko said, let them go, just let them go, let them leave. And maybe there, of course, you could come up with some sort of penalties when they try to come back, or whatever, or not, I don't know. But, let them go. And he's got that attitude for a lot of things. So the one time that he didn't have that, of course, and it's like no country ever has in history or anywhere in the world, is I think it was in 2020 when they had these sort of riots, and guess which a Western country, and probably maybe in collusion with a few other Western countries, well, obviously, that are next door to Belarus. Obviously, they were colluding into it, and it's the same country that does this in so many countries in the world. And you know which country I'm talking about. Emil Kosman calls that country Zimbabwe, but it's not Zimbabwe, as you know. It's a different country. But anyway, they they have a lot of people here. They probably have directly employed at least 1,000 people that are here to create misinformation and incite people and all that sort of thing. It's just exactly like that same nation did in Ukraine. But Ukraine, it was much easier because they had that ideology that has been living in Ukraine since, World War II. That started from that guy with the funny mustache in Germany in the 1930s. So, but Belarus, the people are a lot more innocent and a lot more susceptible, I believe, to, having this stuff, forced upon them, like at least contemporarily. I could get into that, and I should get into that. My thoughts about all this are, and so at that period of time, and it was sort of like an avalanche, and they were saying that Lukashenko cheated on the election, and I don't think Lukashenko cheated on the election. It could have been possible that somebody, and it might have even been done on purpose, for the purpose of a color revolution, so to speak. They might have upped his votes a little bit, because I think it was 80% of the vote. But you also have to consider that the person that was in the opposition had no experience whatsoever in anything in government. Her whole experience was housewife. So, and I've even talked to some of the people that don't like the government here, and they said at the same time they would never have voted for that woman either. So I don't know what that leads you to believe. I don't know what that leads me to believe even. So, but it's something to consider that. But whenever anybody, starts gathering people for the purpose of overthrowing the state, it doesn't matter what type of government, who the leader is, and if you're a weak leader, of course you're going to get overthrown. I'm not sure what happened with Ceausescu, and of course the U.S. was involved in that as well. So, but look at like even Gaddafi and things like that. But I could say that I've known some people that are involved in that sort of a thing, but I didn't really know them that well. But that happens, and of course you can get, believe it or not, military training manuals that tell you how to overthrow governments. And I'm not kidding about that. I don't know if they still have those in the military libraries, but you'd be shocked to see all these manuals, and they simplify it. They make it, and they're brilliantly made. Brilliant. If you can get a hold of some of these army training manuals, very brilliantly made, because they break it down all into the very basics of everything, and they show you very well how to get things done. But that's not even what I was really going to be talking about. I was going to be talking about, and I had some of these things written down. It's about these recent drone attacks is one thing from Ukraine into Russia, like 400 kilometers into Russia, and there were supposedly Soviet-era drones, but the truth is, maybe the outside, where I'm not privy to this, I wasn't there, but apparently the information is coming out that these were from Raytheon. They are maybe Soviet drones, but the inner workings of them and the technology is from Raytheon. So it's an American company, and you can easily guess what that was all about. What this whole thing was. It was to test Russia's defenses, see how far they can penetrate into the country of Russia with these types of drones, at least. But then these drones were shot down right near these military bases. There was 2 military bases, and they were shot down, and I think 2 people died from the falling debris. At least that's what the official story is. I don't know. Maybe I sometimes think Russia kind of doesn't quite tell things accurately for certain reasons, and I could give you some examples, such as when a lot of those diplomats were getting assassinated, and that airplane had some malfunction leaving Sochi with these military musicians. I mentioned that in other videos. I kind of think that that was sabotage, and it wasn't just some sort of a little bit of mistake. And those assassinations. I think they know who assassinated these Russian diplomats. Was a spat of these Russian diplomats getting assassinated for a time. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about these drone attacks. One thing I should mention, it was like just about a week ago, had a politician, I guess he's still a politician, but it was a politician that I remember from long ago, maybe in the 80s, and apparently he even goes back into like back to 1969 as a politician in Germany, and his name is Oscar LaFontaine, and he ran for Chancellor of Germany, and apparently he was also somehow associated with Willy Brandt, who was also the leader of Germany, in the 60s, late 60s, Ostpolitik, if you're up on that sort of thing. But Oscar LaFontaine, I remember very well because I was living in Germany at the time, and he was talking about having to raise taxes. He was the opposition going against Helmut Kohl, who was, I guess, the sitting chancellor at the time. He'd been in there, they called him the ewige Kanzler, who had been in the, who was in office for, quite a few periods. But in any case, Oscar LaFontaine was saying that there's a need to raise taxes. And Helmut Kohl was copying George Bush the first, George Herbert Walker Bush, when he said, read my lips, no new taxes. But Helmut Kohl was saying, who was a chancellor, he was saying, he's not going to raise taxes. That's out of the question. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. And that's one reason why Oscar LaFontaine did not get elected as Chancellor of Germany at the time. And the odd thing is, and I remember this very, very clearly, is the very next day, and we're talking the next day, at least the next work day, I don't know, but the next day Helmut Kohl said, I'm raising taxes, right after he said he's not going to raise taxes. So I remember even on the radios in Germany they were asking people, what do you think about Helmut Kohl lying that said he's not going to raise tax? And then people were saying, oh, well, he had to do it, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, I don't know. So you see this duplicity and all of these things happening in Germany just as much as it does in the U.S. And you can talk about this like, but anyway, what LaFontaine, and he was going into this himself, because apparently he's some sort of a politician now for Die Linke, which is, people associate them with a little bit like communism, but they're actually not. But it's the left, the left, Die Linke. And so, but I still had never heard his name since that election a long time ago. And he's talking about the real truth, who blew up the pipeline and all this sort of thing. And it was like shocking. And saying how Germany is now, been arranged to become a failure, which it has. And he was mentioning that Olaf Schultz, the leader of Germany now, he said he couldn't believe it when he saw there was some meeting, and I believe it was in Germany, and you have Olaf Schultz standing there next to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden saying he's going to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, no matter what. Oh yes, we're going to stop it. And he's sitting right next to the person, Olaf Schultz, who you would think wants the Nord Stream 2 because that's the, far more economic prosperity for Germany. And then Biden is saying, we are going to stop this, the ever-increasing prosperity of the German nation, And Oscar LaFontaine has said he couldn't believe Olaf Schultz sitting there like a schoolboy, like a scolded schoolboy sitting there with George Bush. And George Bush, a Biden, I hope I didn't say George Bush, but I meant Biden, Joe Biden, I'm even surprised that Joe Biden even knew what country he was in, boy oh boy. But Joe Biden saying that he's going to stop the Nord Stream 2, and of course they stopped the Nord Stream 1 for sure, and they stopped and they stopped the Nord Stream 2, even though there's supposed to be one leg that still works. Germany will not shut it on, and it's just incredible. It's incredible, and it's just beyond belief how subservient the leader of Germany is to Joe Biden. I can't believe it. I can't not get over that, and so many other people can't really either. So why would a leader of a country completely screw over his own country to please some sort of a deep state or something like that in the United States? I don't know. But that's enough said about that. And another thing, you want to talk about Germany some more? I guess a lot of this is going to be about Germany. And like Angela Merkel, she was doing an interview apparently for Der Spiegel, normally as a magazine, and of course I believe it's still in magazine form in Germany. I'm getting all mixed up today. But she was talking, and she was virtually saying the same thing as Poroshenko, the former leader of Ukraine, said, that the Minsk agreements, like Minsk 1 and Minsk 2, it was not meant to be obeyed. It was not meant to be obeyed. It was only to buy time for Ukraine to build a military, to militarily incorporate Donetsk and Lugansk republics back into Ukraine. And the whole deal of this Minsk agreement, was to peacefully reincorporate Lugansk and Donetsk back into Ukraine. So they didn't want it peacefully. They wanted to do it militarily, apparently. So then, of course, they kept bombing and killing people. 14,000 people died. And Germany acting like, oh, it's not true. So, but it's very shocking. And of course, if you are living over here, even Belarus or Russia, the people are so shocked and outraged. It is the hottest thing in the news that Angela Merkel, the former leader of Germany, is saying that they never intended on honoring their signatures, their being guarantors to this contract, of the Minsk agreement. So it was nothing but a waste of time. All the negotiations, everything, just a complete waste of time. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? That's what the United States does about every agreement. They make agreements for other reasons than the purpose of what the agreement is supposed to be for. There's no sense of honor anymore. You can't believe this stuff. And let's see what else I have here. Okay, there was Zakharova, Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for Russia. She said there's enough information just from what Angela Merkel said there to call a military tribunal against her, actually, and convict her of war crimes. Angela Merkel, based on just what she said, because they made war on these people, and they were bombing Lugansk and Donetsk all of this time, and it started a war. It was basically keeping the war going. 14,000 dead. So, you can't even believe it. You can't even believe what goes on in the world today. And no sense of honor. And you used to think that Germany was an honorable country. Yeah. 14,000 civilians. But another thing is, you have to use this. You have to see how these elites think. And you see that the people, you and I, out there, anybody watching this, we're nothing but cannon fodder for their political goals. And the only time they actually really care about you, which they don't, but they act like they care about you, is about a year out before the election. And these people, they're just there for power and wealth. And of course, it's actually fascism. And if you know what real fascism is, and today the new meaning of fascism is something to do with your race and your skin color and all that sort of thing. But it wasn't originally that way. And I remember I think a week or so ago, I was watching Alex Cristoforo. He was even mentioning this. I had mentioned it in videos like 6 months ago, but he was mentioning real fascism. But he said it a little bit differently. But I believe how Mussolini, who created fascism in the year 1919, the first fascist party of Italy, he said fascism is the marriage of corporate money to government power. And that is fascism. And you see how it's going on right now. And I saw another video as well from Jeffrey Sachs. And he was talking about how everything has been hijacked. You have the pharmaceutical industry now, and it's all for big money. And people's health doesn't matter. It's all the money. The money matters. And military-industrial complex, the health complex. I mean, it just goes on and on. And that sort of thing, it makes me glad to be here, here in where the leaders are actually responsible for the people. And in the West, unfortunately, they're only responsible to money. It's all about money. And even if you don't want it to be about money, it's about money because you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to be a leader unless it's about money. Jeez. And then you hear this BS about what were they saying? That Ukraine should negotiate with Russia. They have no intention of wanting, but I think actually they do. The only thing, it's just exactly like the Minsk Accords. Yeah, negotiate with Russia. And in other words, what that's supposed to do is initiate a ceasefire to where they're going to continue building up. And as you know, they're considering a draft very, very much in Poland. And Poland right now is country number 2 for cannon fodder after the Ukrainian people, after they fight to the last Ukrainian. Even Lindsey Graham said that he's so happy. I said that in a video again, and I can't get over that. He's so happy that that Ukraine said or Zelensky said they're gonna fight to the last Ukrainian. Can you imagine if Lindsey Graham or the United States said we're gonna fight to the last American? Do you imagine that anybody would say that in America? So it sounds so great and so macho. It's saying so macho. We're going to fight till the last Ukrainian. I mean, the Ukrainians say that. You can imagine somebody else saying that the United States would say that. Yeah, let's fight till the last Ukrainian. But this stuff is just too much. The whole world has lost its whole sense and sensibility. I'm not trying to quote Jane Austen's title of her book or anything like that, but I guess maybe she wrote that in a different light, probably about some love stories or something. I even read it, thought it was totally boring, but I'm not into, like Wuthering Heights and Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, those sort of things. I was totally bored reading those books. I liked Sherlock Holmes better, even though that's also completely unbelievable. Sherlock Holmes always reading something out of a newspaper as if it's true. It wasn't even true back then, and if the facts are all accurate, and then solving a crime, starting with those facts from a newspaper, so. But that's about all I have today. And I hope I can make another one next week, but you never know. You never know what's going on anywhere in the world, even here in Belarus, with my classes and all. And of course the snow's getting a lot worse. Luckily it's not super, super cold. Otherwise my fingers would be totally frozen. They're just a little bit cold right now. But anyway, I don't think I said any real bad. I don't know. Did I say any real taboo words? So that maybe the algorithms will be a little bit nicer to me this time. Maybe I'll get a little bit more exposure or something. So otherwise, not many people really actually see these videos or get exposed to even be able to click on watching them or anything like that. So, but I don't know. Hope everybody stays safe out there, and I hope to be making more videos like this in the future, but of course with a lot better content. What I really want to talk about is how we're all being buffaloed and just like this coronavirus stuff, and me wearing a mask even. I tell you what, I came here to get away from all this stuff, and then here in this class they're making me do that. I'm not going to go turn them in and say, hey, the teacher's making me wear a mask. I'd kind of like to settle this and say, hey, do I really have to wear a mask? And I want to tell them I came to Belarus because I don't want to have to wear a mask. I don't want to get vaccinated, and nobody has to get vaccinated here. Supposedly nobody has to wear a mask. I haven't seen, well, you do see people wear masks once in a while, once out of every 1,000 people or something wearing a mask, and it might be, as far as my classroom is concerned, it might be because all the students are Chinese except for me. And you know, I don't know. I don't really know their philosophy in China about this virus. You know, they were having lockdowns, and I don't know. I don't know if they're a rebellious type of people, like at least I am. I don't know. I'm kind of a rebel, so. But the rest of you out there, of course, you wouldn't be watching this unless you're rebels too. But take care of yourself, and I hope I'm going to be making another one by next week. And don't forget to subscribe if the algorithms did bring you here and you haven't seen any videos of me yet or talking. So, and thanks for watching.